together.
It will. It will.
It will be whatever it will be.
In its way.
Exactly, in its way.
You know, I don't like to be gone too long. I don't like, if I don't see somebody and I'm thinking, if they move on. Yeah, I saw one scene, I'm like, okay, great for the call.
Cyber baptism?
Right, which is good.
And my son and daughter don't want to do anything big with the day. They're hosting a different Saturday for us and my younger brother and his family. That's Saturday. Thursday, we're actually going out to the restaurant. With one other couple. Who also are kind of working on things.
What's up, Slick? What's up, Slick? Remember that?
Yeah, oh, I'm gonna grab it.
Oh, you're dating both of us that way. Yes, yes. Are we getting old?
No.
We just have longer memories.
That's right. World.
That's right. Old, I'm getting older. So, you get up every morning and I make a conscious decision. So they don't drink. And it works.
just half.
Are you waltzing?
Yes, yes.
The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, mange, eat." You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread. Give back your heart to itself. To the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your life.
You're invited to breathe in those words, to taste and see the beauty and goodness of God in you, and receive this welcome to this thing we call sacred journey. Let's stand and sing our way into the day.
1, 2, 3. Sing a new song, rejoice. The dawn is breaking, the earth is waking, its dreams come true, and do you hear the voice? Darkness surprising, singing its rising. See, I am making all things new. Whom shall we live for? Whose mighty hand made the moon, the sun, and stars on high? Who made a way for us through water and the sand, brought us out of slavery and fed us from the sky? Sing a new song, rejoice, rejoice, rejoice. The dawn is breaking, the earth is waking, its dreams come true, and do you hear the voice? Darkness surprising, singing its rising. See, I am making all things new. Who found us wanderers and made us into one? Who is ever near with strength to save? Whose love adopted us as daughters and sons, family to the firstborn, who is risen from the grave. Sing a new song, rejoice. The dawn is breaking, the earth is waking, its dreams come true, and do you hear the voice? Darkness arising, singing its rising. See, I am making all things new. Every heart and all my many days, who is called the lowly one, my own. Breathe the dream of justice into possess tongues of flame. Who is tender mercy, only God and God alone. Sing a new song, sing a song, rejoice. The dawn is breaking, the earth is waking, its dreams come true, and do you hear the voice? Darkness surprising, singing its rising. See, I am making all things. See, I am making all things. See, I am making all things new.
Thomas Aquinas wrote, "Sheer joy is God's, and this demands companionship." In other words, Aquinas is saying that joy is the very reason for the universe, that the divine joy spilled over and wanted to share itself. Or in other words, God's joy became the universe itself. God's joy became beingness, God experiencing God's self in all creation. So we are celebrating and awakening to the gift of joy throughout our service today. And in our gathering prayers, I invite you to remember the joy that God experiences in you and in this community, in every sentient being, and in all creation. So in these moments, I invite you to remember God's Spirit present in this room, present in this place, to the east and the west, the north and the south, above us, below us, and within us.
Come, Spirit, come, our hearts unfold. We hunger now to be made whole. Awaken us, Lord, to hill and plain and skies above. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts unfold. We hunger now to be made whole. Awaken us to joy and love in hill and plain and skies above.
As we bless the East, we remember the evidence of joy. The joy of a deer leaping, of a puppy licking a child's face, of a new day dawning. May we see the extraordinary in the ordinary and know that it's all extraordinary, all the wonders that envelop and surround us. As we turn to the south, we remember that joy is large enough that it can embrace sorrow and hold suffering. It is that big. It is a deep well, a container, large enough to hold our grief, strong enough to contain our pain. Facing the west, we recognize the divine spark present in each of us for imagination, creativity, and wonder. May we delight in these gifts. Help us, Holy One, to lose ourselves repeatedly and often in joy and delight, in awe and wonder. Turning to the north, what deep joy God must experience for planting this divine spark in us, for giving us agency, for giving us mastery. May we use these gifts well to heal our warming planet, to honor the life force present in all animals, plants, and sea life, to transform our world with love. Let's join together. Holy One, all around me are wonders that offer me delight and help me to lose myself in joy. Awaken me, help me to see and to pay attention. Thank you for all the signs of your love pouring into creation and into my life. Amen.
A reading from Philippians 4 through verse 4 through 9 from the Voice. Most of all, friends, always rejoice in the Lord. I never tire of saying it. Rejoice. Keep your gentle nature so that all people will know what it looks like to walk in God's footsteps. Christ is ever present with us. Don't be anxious about things. Instead, pray. Pray about everything. God longs to hear your requests. So talk to God about your needs and be thankful for what has come. And know that the peace of God, a peace that is beyond any and all of our human understanding, will stand watch over your hearts and minds in Jesus, the Anointed One. Finally, brothers and sisters, fill your minds with beauty and truth. Meditate on what is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is good, whatever is virtuous and praiseworthy. Keep to the script. Whatever you learned and received and heard and saw in me, do it, and the God of peace will walk with you.
These are words of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
And each one of you is truly a word of God for God's people. I invite you to rejoice in that good news and to share that good news and to share God's peace with one another. Let us offer signs of peace. Peace with all of you worshiping via live stream. We're glad that you're with us. And we rejoice that you're here. Peace to you.
This is our annual opportunity on Commitment Sunday to sing Pennies from Heaven, so don't miss out. from heaven. Don't you know each cloud contains pennies from heaven? You'll find your fortune falling all over town. Be sure that your umbrella is upside down. Trade them for a package of sunshine and flowers. If you want the things you love, you must have showers. So when you hear it thunder, don't run under a tree. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me. There'll be pennies from heaven for you and me.
I thought I heard some uh-oh over there. All right, all right. Hi. I had an experience in this room a couple of months ago that I would like to tell you about and explore what it means. You may remember, it was a day when Donna Long, who has often given utterances from God, offered as her prayer that she was ecstatic and besotted by God. Do you remember that? If you were here, you probably remember. That really, I felt like a switch flipped in me when she said that, because I had come that day with a very heavy heart because I had just learned some new horror that was being perpetrated on children at our southern border, and I was full of sadness and grief and despair. And I prayed in that, I prayed for those children that day in our prayer time, for the alleviation of their suffering, for an end to that cruelty. And yet when Donna prayed, I had the thought instantly, what if praying from a sense of sadness and despair about realizing what's going on in the world, which is pretty hard to avoid, what if that's not the only way to pray for things to become better? What if we just could be, what if I just could be joyful like that and feel ecstatic and besotted by God? What kind of effect would that have on the bad things that are happening? So I started thinking about joy, because that's what it was joy that she expressed. And I realized something about myself, which I have known for a long time, but in this context it came into clarity. I have a tendency to have a tragic view of things. And well, it's true. I'm on number 4 on the Enneagram, so if you're familiar with the Enneagram, you know what that means. I have very intense feelings. My feelings are very important to me. Sometimes they spill out, and if I have a few tears, you'll know that's why they're spilling out. I have very intense feelings, and I tend to think that if I don't feel sad and grief-stricken and despairing and all of that stuff when I look out at what's happening in the world, if I don't feel all of that, it's because I don't care enough. So I have to be there in order to show that I care, and I cling to that. You know, as a 4, I cling to that. But I started thinking about joy, and I thought about three things, actually 4. I'm not doing Monty Python routine. Three things really that came to my mind right away about joy, and one of them is the first verse of this scripture that we heard today, which when I was growing up, and I learned it from the RSV, was, rejoice in God always, and again I say, rejoice. There's been some songs written with those words. The next thing I thought of was Brian Swimme, who many of you know who he is. He's a cosmologist. He talks about the evolution of the universe. And he used to teach at Matthew Fox's Creation Spirituality University in California. Now he's at some other institution that's kind of divergent, but he's still around. He was at the conference that I went to a month ago. I heard him speak. He's still teaching, still writing, still speaking, and what I went back to was a video series that he did maybe 25 or 30 years ago. I think they were even shown on PBS maybe, in one of them was a 10-part series of 1-hour episodes in which he unfolded the entire span of the history of the universe, from the Big Bang or the flaring forth through the stars, the planets, and all the way to human beings. And he said something in that which most ecologists would agree with, and that is, as human beings on this planet, we don't have much of an ecological role. We're not really needed. We don't do anything that is essential to the functioning of ecosystems. Right, and you're laughing because that's such a almost unbearably ironic understatement given what's going on. We don't do much that's good around here, right? So what is our purpose if we don't do something that's essential to the functioning of the biosphere? Well, according to Brian Swim, and this was echoed in something Kent said, our job is to be the consciousness, the awareness of the universe perceiving itself. Our job, according to Swim, is to gape in awe. That's all we have to do, right? Gape in awe at the beauty and the immensity and the mystery of it all. That's what we're here for. This also reminded me of another set of words I had in my head, which I didn't know where they came from, and I had to look it up, but I want to tell you, it's from the Westminster Catechism of 1646. You know, you got the internet in your pocket. It was a time when the Scottish Church and the English Church were negotiating some type of merger, and the words are, in excusing the non-inclusive language, the chief aim of man is to love God and enjoy Him forever. Now, doesn't that sound like gape in awe? Doesn't that sound like rejoice always? This is coming from the Scottish Church too, so you got to take it seriously, right? That's not a place you find a lot of upbeat kind of stuff. So then the third thing I thought of was some words of a poet that is one of my favorites and whose work we have read here, Wendell Berry. And I got to also mention here to insert, in case you read Matthew Fox's Daily Meditations, this very morning he mentioned Brian Swim and Wendell Berry. I'm just saying. I know, right? So Wendell Berry had a poem that he published in 1991 called Manifesto, the Mad Farmer Liberation Front. And in this poem is the line, "Be joyful, though you have considered all the facts." So Wendell is an activist. He's an activist farmer and poet. He knows all of the bad things that are going on. He's written books about them. He's been doing that for 40 years. He's still doing it. He's not saying, don't pay any attention to the bad things that are going on. He's saying, be joyful in the face of all of that. In fact, that just a line before that line is the line, expect the end of the world. He's not putting any sugarcoating on this. We are in a dire situation, and it's very easy to go around feeling low and despairing like I typically do. So reading this and thinking about all of these things about joy, I realized that I don't have to live there. You've heard me say, and last time I stood up here, I said to you, it's very important to look at what's going on and to understand it and to see it and to feel all the feels. You're going to feel sadness. You're going to feel despair because that's the nature of the injustice and the suffering and the destruction and the criminal cruelty that's going on in our world. But you don't have to stay there. In fact, don't stay there. Go there when you have to, and don't pretend that it's not there. Don't do a spiritual bypass and say, well, I'm just going to paste a smiley face on this and not think about all that stuff because it's so disturbing. Don't do that. But also, don't live there. Remember that it's possible to be joyful. So this brings me to the main question that I have that I'm going to put on you to think about, and that is, can I choose to be joyful? Now, as a person who tends to be tragic and joy doesn't seem to come easily to me, I wonder, is joy something that just, happens randomly like grace? Every so often, you'll have an experience and you'll be filled with joy and then it goes away? Or is it something that we can choose? Can we choose to be joyful? Now, Paul seems to be saying that, and so does Wendell Berry, and so does Brian Swoon for that matter, and so does the Westminster Catechism people. So Paul, in the passage to the Philippians, has a few things to say about this, about choosing joy. And we're just about to see, I want to show you a music video that I found through a friend who's a musician that is also about this question of choosing to be joyful. She has some things to say about it as well. So while we're listening to this, be thinking about, if this is a question for you as it is for me, can you choose to be joyful? Yes. And what does that look like? Thank you.
Downhearted. lose my joy.
We pray from a joyful heart because we know where our strength is. It's in our joy. And I invite you to think of all those in your heart who need joy this morning. And as we come to a point of stillness, you are invited to hold them in your heart, to see them through your heart's eye. And then if Spirit leads you, you are invited to speak their names and to offer your prayers.
I want to be long-winded. I want to thank Betsy for giving me the mic. And then I want to thank Nate for being handsome. And he comes to visit me. And I want to thank Jaden for giving me the rights here, there, here, all the time. And I want to say the altar table looks so nice. Goodbye.
If you're here for the first time, we have a way of receiving a prayer at Sacred Journey, and we hold that prayer, we take it to our heart, and then we release it to the God of joy.
I ask for prayers for Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
On Friday, Bob and I had a joyful experience of visiting Marcine over at Jones Harrison for a few minutes, and she's an amazing, joyful person. She is just embracing this part of her journey with such joy and such depth that we really felt that we were in the presence of something very wonderful. And so prayers for Marcine on this part of her journey.
I'm asking for prayers for my sister and her husband. Her husband is very deeply enmeshed in mental illness, and it's affecting both of their lives very deeply. And we're just hoping that they can get through this cycle intact.
This is Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Month, and 2 days ago it was Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Day. And I want prayers for the families that have lost their loved ones, which includes me, to pancreatic cancer, and prayers that the research that is ongoing will somehow find a way to find pancreatic cancer early, because that's the problem with that. It's just, when found, it's almost too late in so many cases. The survival rate is, like 6% or something. It's a bad one. But prayers for those families who are dealing now with pancreatic cancer.
When I was a teenager and spent a lot of time with my grandfather, he taught me a line that I remembered as Betsy was talking, and his line was, "That was the best that gives." And Betsy, I think that was the best that gives.
I received an email a couple of days ago from Betty Beach. I don't believe Betty is here this morning. The email mentioned that her husband, Bob Beach, is now in hospice care at Folkestone. She didn't give a lot of information, but I want to offer a prayer for Bob as he enters hospice care, and for Betty as she enters this chapter of this very long journey. And it also makes me mindful of all the other families that had someone close to them enter hospice care in these last few days. Hold all of them in our hearts and our prayers.
We join our voice. Oh.
This Thanksgiving, I pray for all of us who gather with others to give our thanks. I pray that we may become closer to each other, that we may share the joy of intimacy, and especially just plain enjoy each other's company.
I'd like to ask for prayers for a member of our church community who I won't mention the name because the person wants to keep it quiet, which is in line with the kind of person he is. That has a recurring cancer. He's been in remission for 5 years, and this cancer's come back. And fortunately, as he puts it, it's the good kind of cancer. Meaning that you generally don't die from it, as a lot of cancers do. You often die from the treatment. So he'll be starting a round of chemotherapy short after December 1st.
I lift up 2 prayers of thanksgiving this morning. The first is my thanks for Hillary and his daughter Chelsea, her daughter Chelsea, and I finished the book last night. And I am so thrilled that they did the research and had an army of researchers helping them, of great women in the world today. My second Thanksgiving prayer is for the life of Jack Hadorf, died a week ago. He was a former pastor. He was an all-time high coach at St. Cloud, left coaching, went to seminary, became a pastor, and then even served here in Hennepin as an associate pastor. So my thanks for these two areas today, in God's name.
Let me join our voices in prayer together. Loving God, in your difficulty, you bring us hope. In our sadness, you offer us joy. Help us to share these gifts with all people so they too will find reasons and room to rejoice. Amen. The joy of giving is ours. Today you are invited to bring your gifts for this congregation and the ministries and work that goes forth from this place to the offering table. Today is the day, if you are visiting, that we call Commitment Sunday. And it's that day when we set out to do the work of deciding what we will do next year by making our pledge to this community, to this congregation. And so you're invited to do that. If you need a commitment card, they are in the basket on the welcome table, and you're invited to give with great joy so that the pennies from heaven keep flowing out, 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 out to do the work of bringing joy to the world.
We are many parts, we are all one body, and the gifts we have, we are given to share. May the Spirit of God make us one indeed, one the love that we share. One the love that we have. Celebration time. This is a time we set aside every week to celebrate your good news, the good news you've brought with you here this morning. So take a little personal survey. Have you had a birthday recently? Are you about to have one? Is there an anniversary you've just celebrated or about to celebrate? Do you have some important chapter of your life that's starting or ending? Anything that you consider to be good news, joyful news we might say today. We invite you to share it now with us by coming forward. We'll give you the mic and you can tell us your good news, and then together we'll offer you all our blessing. So who has good news to share this morning?
Come on, share. That's it? Oh, good. Thanksgiving Day is the day on which I was born, but it doesn't always land on Thanksgiving Day. So this Thursday, I will be turning 73 and celebrating my life and celebrating with my family.
Today is our oldest son's birthday. He's 47.
I'm celebrating a joyful time I had yesterday. I got together with a friend of over 40 years and we made cookies. And I must have had a good time because I was covered in flour from my shoulders, where I wipe my hands, to my knees.
So those are those cookies, or? No. Oh, you didn't share then. All for you. That's so nice. So yeah, three things really quickly. So I don't think I've been here since Sarah and I celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary. So that was awesome. Also, that was October 17th. And then today is my oldest friend's 50th birthday, and it's always a big deal because her 50th birthday is before my 50th birthday, and so I'm younger than her, and it's a long story. But anyway, we always have a blast teasing each other today, so 50 years for her. And then thirdly, I started a new job on the 4th of November, and if I've talked to any of you about that, getting that new job was really, really important, so I'm super grateful.
I'm here just to celebrate being here. And giving you an update that everything is wonderful in the sunny South, but I haven't seen enough of you visiting yet. So you need to visit, and I asked my friend Anita, who's been recently down there, she can tell you all about it, and she's the connector and the contactor when you're ready to come to Nashville and do the farm with me. So I welcome you, and a beautiful chapel on our highest hill that my brother is pastor of, and it's very spiritual, and it's very wonderful. But it's very wonderful to be here visiting. And I'll be back on a winter trip when the snow's good for cross-country skiing. That's my next January or February, so hopefully I'll see you then, but it's a blessing to be here.
I just want to attest to Cynthia's true and great Southern hospitality. She has a beautiful home she's living in, her grandmother's old farmhouse, and they just have a beautiful setup there with the chapel on the hill, and I attended 2 prayer services, and it was just very touching and wonderful. So go south.
I'm here. Excuse me. I'm here to say that we are celebrating our 61st birthday. A long road.
Good morning. I'm glad to be here this morning. How about that? Let's start with that. Well, my granddaughter is 11 years old. Her name is Soraya, and she's being baptized this morning at Park Avenue United Methodist Church. So I'm going to race out of here as soon as I'm done with this service, okay? Thank you.
I'm bringing greetings from Debbie.
Well, I got something to say.
No, I bring greetings from Debbie, who can't be here today because she's not doing well, but this is her birthday, and I'll let her tell you which one some other time.
So together we extend our hand and open our hearts and give our blessing. God grant you all many years.
So now that we've had the contest of the deep voice dudes, just saying. A couple of things today to make you aware of. If you have been looking around the perimeter of the room, you see that the tables are set up for sandwich making. This is part of our ministry to the Dignity Center. They use the sandwiches to share with people who may not get anything else to eat. If you can stay, you are invited to join in sandwich making. It's a very joyful process. Yes. Charge conference, you'll have just enough time after sandwich making to go to charge conference, which starts after the 10 o'clock service, around 11:30 in the sanctuary. It will be brief. It's not a long conference, but it is a wonderful part of the joyous way that we do our structure for ministry. So you're invited to that. Poinsettia dedications begin today. If you want to honor someone, remember someone, pick up a form. If you get it in by the 8th of December, it will be printed in the Christmas Eve bulletin. Pay attention to all of the other good stuff in the announcements. There is so much. We're getting ready for Advent. We're getting ready to move into a different season of anticipation and celebration and holy surprises. So you never know what might happen on a Sunday. Just saying. Can't. Things that you want to share from the floor.
I'm Marcia, and I'm going to try not to be long-winded. You probably wonder how this space gets made worship space for us on Sunday morning, and you may think that it's a roving band of church elves that do magical work. Well, you're right, it is magical, but it's not a roving band of church elves. It's a roving band of volunteers from our community who love this community and want to have this be very special for all of us. We have teams that make these beautiful, creative expressions of the word each week, and Jada is the chair of that committee, that team. We have greeters who welcome all of us, who also set up the welcome table every Sunday and see that it's got all the things we need to welcome you. And then we have a team called After Service Helpers who put things away and tidy up so this room can be used for others. So with all that great things that you can do, we would like to invite more people to be able to participate. So we are recruiting for all of those teams. And so you can talk to me, you can talk to Jada. Trish isn't here today, she's coordinating the greeters. We will give training. As a matter of fact, we're going to have a little session coming up to retrain because we're changing some of where we store things. But we really would like to have you all get an opportunity to share your gifts with this loving community by volunteering for one of our teams.
Oh, that was wonderful. Absolutely marvelous. There is a report from the 2nd of November. We are working on it. It is coming to you. Betsy is a big part of that, and we couldn't ask her to work on report and bring you the amazing message. Would you have rather had the message or the report? Message. See, we made the right choice. We're getting ready to go out into the world, and out in that world there are people who have no idea that joy is available to them. You know that it is. You have enough joy in your heart to spill over and share. Don't keep it to yourself. Let's stand and sing our way out.
So we're going to give a shot at singing this song you all heard on the video a little while ago. We're going to play it through one time. You got some words in front of you.